Hey guys, Wolf Wangler.
So these heads went through the cleaning machine at Dave's head shop. I brought them home, I sprayed them out with brake clean, then I washed them with soap and water, and here I'm blowing them out with air.
What do you think? And let's see how the guides come out. It works just right with valve guides. Still getting just a little bit of some crap that didn't get washed out. And that's why you do this. All that washing and pressure washing and everything else, and there's still dirt in the guides. So I'm going to take another swab and a little soapy water. Let's just get these guys squeaky clean to start with. So, there you go. All right, so I'm moving ahead here. That was unintended. Anyway, I've got all the valves. I measured all of the installed heights. So I've got the valves and the locators. A few of them need some shims under them. And I've got the hardware, rocker arm studs, guide plates, studs for the valve covers. Got all of that stuff done. All I got to do now is put the valves in. I've got all of the valve springs lined up here. I've measured the installed height spring pressure, 200, 201, 201, 196.8. So the 196s and 197s are going to be on the exhaust side, and the 200s and the 199s will be on the intake side. All right, making a little progress. Okay, so come along with me here on setting up this intake valve. First step, I'm going to put the valve in the head. And when I turn the head over, you'll notice I've got this little piece of sponge. It's a dried sponge, and it's cut to fit into the chamber pretty good, so that when I set the head down, that valve isn't going to be falling back out on me. So first time I'm putting the valve in, and now the valve is pretty much in place. Now a valve spring seat, and now I'm going to put the micrometer on the seat, and I'm going to put a valve retainer on top of that, and I'm going to take a pair of keepers. I think I can do this shit one-handed. Maybe, except I need two hands to unscrew this. I need to wind this down, and you don't normally do this with two hands, but I need to wind this down to measure how much room I've got for this valve spring. And the key here is you want to wind this as tight as you can. I need two hands to do this. Crank that down, and it's 1 inch 943. It's supposed to be 1 inch 950, so it's 7/1000 of an inch too tight. I can deal with that. Okay, now we're going to take this back apart. Okay, now I'm going to take this intake valve, take a little bit of Mobile 1, cover the valve stem. I've already lubed the inside of the guide. That valve is in place now, and we're going to put the spring on. Okay, so next step, valve stem seal. To use that, you want to you get these little tips. You want to put that little tip over the end of your valve, because what will happen is that the cut on the end of the valve is sharp, and you're going to wind up pressing this valve stem seal over the end of the valve stem, and if you don't have that little condom on there, the sharp edge where the keeper's seat will nick the end of your valve stem seal. So you want to use those little plastic bookers. Now we're on there. I've got this little device that goes over the edge and I can seal, and I've got that on, and I like to feel underneath that I can still rotate the valve spring seat, but I can, and that's good. So now we need a valve spring. I'm going to take this one. Now the valve spring goes into place. The retainer goes on top of it, and I take my handy dandy valve spring compressor, put it in place. I have a washer and a nut, and I always put them on the same way. And this doesn't have to get wrenched down. Finger tight is fine. I like to position the valve spring compressor so that the windows are accessible, because I'm going to need to be in here to make sure the keepers fit right. So now I'm cranking that down to expose the keeper grooves. Okay, keepers are in place, and you see that little space, I'm kind of moving it. You want that to be equal on both sides. You don't want one side of that closed up and the other side open. You want a little space so there's a little tiny bit of room for everything to be happy. So I'm holding that. I'll let the spring pressure off.